How do Indians in the low income brackets live? It used to be a difficult question for anyone trying to offer policy ideas, more so for political parties come election times, but not any longer. Why? Just a couple of days ago, we have seen the UPI numbers cross 10 billion in August. That's a wealth of a data to look into. There are other types of these data also coming out. One of those is from NCAER. The author of this remarkable study is Dr. Barnali Bhandari, professor at NCAER. A study on how the gig economy workers live, their income, their expenditure, and so on. There's another source of data which we'll take you on to. This is the microfinance data of people across India. How do they repay their loans? And with all that information, we shall then look at what is the response by political parties. This week, the centre has cut the price of LPG by rupees 200. In states, lots of parties are talking about unemployment allowance. Do these square up? And that is what we shall be looking at with data on this edition of One Point. In terms of economics, there are two ways when an income can rise. Either when a worker gets more income per month or when prices come down. Both lead to what is called the shifting of the demand curve. That means per expenditure, the worker is able to afford more income. Now, what we have seen is post-pandemic in these past few years from the NCAER data, the nominal income of workers have not gone up much. How much has it gone up? By about 4%. But in the same period, even with benign inflation, that has been much less than what has been the cost of inflation. Yet, at the same time, microfinance data shows something very interesting. The families of the same workers, and especially in the weaker states, are paying back their loans on time much better than anticipated. Now, what does this show? Now, before I take you into these sort of things, let me first take you on this fascinating trip of looking at data on how families repay their loans across states. It's a rich source of data, and as I said, it has been brought up by Sa-Dhan, the apex body of microfinance institutions across India. India's database of microfinance provides an amazing set of data. Let us go state-wise. But first, let me explain what the data means. So this data is about how risky is microfinance in each district. The Sa-Dhan report shows for every state that how families are likely to repay their debts, and the risks for each district has been calculated based on several parameters, which includes the economic potential, indebtedness, multiple lending, and critical thing, how frequently do families become what is called unpaid accounts, or like going overdue when they don't pay back the loans. Now look at this data for Bihar. As you can see, all the districts of Bihar are in a range of 4 to 5 to 5.5, which means on a scale of 1 to 10, they are rather good. The states, the districts, each district, any district you can take up, shows a very nice tendency to return their loans. This is what a microfinance lender will feel happy doing for Bihar. Let's take another state which is in the other end of India, which is Karnataka. In Karnataka, you'd notice that comparison with Bihar, all the states, all the districts are much more risky. Each district, the average here is somewhere around 5.5 to 5.6. pick up any district excepting probably Dakshin Kannada, every district is above 5. That means this state is much more risky to lend to. Look at another state which is from North India, Uttar Pradesh. Now, the data here will be slightly due to the illustration problem, slightly garbled, but here too, if you look at the data, all the districts have an amazingly nice range of being 4 or less than 4. In fact, it's even better than Bihar in terms of their riskiness. Let's again go to another part of India, which is Tamil Nadu. Here what do you see? You see that the state average is somewhat like Karnataka. Districts after districts, the average is way above 5, and this means that this state is more risky from the point of view of the microfinance institutions. It's a rich source of data, but when you track them, what you find is North India has better loan repayment trend than South. This is a story that is not often told, but needs to be told. And what does it show? We'll come to it very soon. Catch the interesting thing in this entire exercise. The NCAER data shows that most of the gig economy workers are local, or even if they are not from the same town, tier 2, tier 3, even if they are not, they stay within a very narrow range. So essentially, they are connected to the area where they are operating. That's a very important point, because if you connect that with what we just saw from the Sa-Dhan data, it shows that the families have a reason why they are repaying the loans. The families also stay in the same place. It means that these workers, these low income workers, for them a lot matters in terms of prestige. They are earning income, whatever they earn, they are very sure that they want, their families want, that their income standing, their position as an honest family should not be disturbed. It's a very important thing, because this is what in India is given a lot of faith in. So, what are they asking for? They are asking for employment for sure, but they are not, and I am putting my neck out here, they are not asking for doles. It's a very important point to remember. If these people are returning their money on time, now Indians believe that they are moving up in life. Most Indians. Prestige is a sign of that. The fact that they are holding steady income in work like the gig economy, the fact that they are so significantly in the poorer states repaying their loans, both point to that. This is a very, very important phenomena. But unfortunately, our political parties, or at least quite a lot of them, don't seem to be getting this message. Lining up for doles is not what I think this population is looking at. Now, I said I'll be referring to the UPI flow. Remember, UPI is small transactional value. The big bank transactions like NEFT that we do, RTGS, the large transactions between corporations, those are not UPI. UPI is largely the small transactions. People, that means in the lower income bracket. You and I do it, but it's a huge number of people. That 10 billion people, the 10 billion transaction isn't coming just from us. It's in fact mostly coming from the people in the lower income bracket. They are doing it, they are recording it. And what does it show? Let me look at this data from RBI. Now, RBI comes up with a very interesting report called the Financial Sector Flow. And let's look at this. The annual report on the financial stocks and flows account for the Indian economy. It presents sectoral outstanding positions and transactions, and just hold with me for a minute, through financial instruments. It's called a from whom to whom flows, which means that where has the money originated and to whom has it gone. Essentially, that gives a much better understanding of how cash is flowing in the economy, rather than exclamations about what you might call anecdotal information and so on and so forth. This is solid data. And as this graph shows, what does this show? This provides insights into the sources and uses of funds and movements of sectoral financial balances. What does it show? Between the years 2011-12 and 2016-17, financial assets and net worth of the household sector declined by about 5%. Now that's interesting. The financial assets of the household sector had actually declined even before demonetization, even before GST. What was then happening yet to make the household sectors become part of the UPI in such large numbers? According to me, why they are coming in is they are getting not only to be part of the formal sector, they are actually trying to build up their capital position. Repaying of loans, staying steady on their work is a means for them to recoup their position. The Indians across the low income groups are fighting hard to improve their positions. Coming up, the UPI data is actually a very, very major indicator of that. It is not an economy of 1.4 billion people wanting to just get doles, support where they don't need. They want chances to repair their capital, to come up to steam. You remember, every time they do an UPI transaction, it actually adds to the capital record, the banking records of that family. These are significant reasons why they are getting into it. It's helping them. And this is something which does not, again, as I said, square up with the idea that they need assistance stunning out like a langar. This is going to be an election of 1.4 billion people, and lots of reports have come out that this is the first election which is going to be in the era of artificial intelligence. When there'll be disinformation, where there'll be reports of all sorts coming up, distortions of truth. I think a much more significant thing is happening. And what is that? It is the first election in the world history where such a large mass of people with low per capita income are actually seeing what's happening around them, getting information, distorted or real, whichever way, but they're getting the information and will be making the choice. And while they're making the choice, they are sure that they are going up the income ladder. They have life chances which is expanding for them. It is this which the political parties need to read well. Treat them with respect. Now, when you want to make income rise, and that's not happening because companies are not raising salaries, then the alternative for the politicians is to cut prices. Now, that's fine, like the way the LPG prices have been cut. But what doesn't work is caps on prices. And that is what the center has been doing of late. Or at the state level, when they are providing freebies of bus fares, of electricity price caps. Because to make good those cuts, governments have to raise resources from elsewhere. Either higher taxes or borrow more. It means political parties need to work, to be innovative, to offer work. Offer work, not to stand in lines. For instance, change the taxation policies where there are difficulties for people to move across state boundaries or from cities to cities. There are toll taxes, there are entry taxes, and around every city You get barriers for people just to take even a crate of eggs around, or just to hawk her services for different sectors. There are restrictions. Remove those. These are the innovations that people want. So don't offer happiness, offer prestige. That will make good stories for everyone. And on that note, that's all from this edition of On Point.